The Huawei Pura X is back in the spotlight. Rumors are saying that Huawei is already working on a new version of this foldable, and it could be even more exciting than the original. Now, if you remember, the first Pura X launched earlier this year in April 2025. It was one of the most interesting foldables because of its unique design. It didn't try to copy the Galaxy Z Flip series or go fully into tablet territory like the Z Fold. Instead, it gave us a very practical balance. And now, the leaks suggest Huawei is doubling down on that formula. The big change. Size. The next Huawei Pura is rumored to grow larger, moving from a 6.3-inch display all the way up to an 8-inch foldable panel. That's a massive jump. An 8-inch display basically puts it side by side with devices like Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 7 or Google's Pixel 10 Pro Fold. We're talking tablet-like screen real estate, but in a foldable design that still feels compact. Tipsters from Asia are saying we could see this device before the end of 2025. That's kind of surprising because if you think about it, the first Pura X just came out a few months ago. Huawei doesn't usually refresh devices this quickly, so maybe the company feels it has momentum in the foldable market and wants to keep the excitement going. Now, let's talk about why the Pura X stands out. Many flip foldables on the market use an awkward, tall aspect ratio like 22:9. That makes them look narrow and not particularly comfortable for media or multitasking. Huawei took a different approach. The Pura X unfolded into a 16:10 display, a much more natural and practical ratio. That wider canvas gave you a better experience when watching videos, scrolling social media, or just browsing the web. Less wasted space, fewer black bars, and a more immersive view. With this rumored 8-inch version, that experience should only get better. Imagine watching YouTube, Netflix, or even just gaming on a nearly tablet-sized screen that folds into your pocket. That's where Huawei seems to be heading. But it's not just the display that made the Pura X smart. One of the biggest issues with flip foldables has always been battery life. Because of their slim designs, there's only so much space to fit a decent-sized battery. That's why the Galaxy Z Flip 6, for example, had a 4,000 mAh battery. Not bad, but still limiting. Even the newer Flip 7 bumped it to 4,300 mAh, which is an improvement but still not groundbreaking. Huawei solved this problem by using a wider design, which gave them extra room inside. The original Pura X came with a 4,700 mAh battery. That's nearly 20% more capacity than Samsung's Flip lineup. And in real-world use, that makes a big difference. You don't have to constantly worry about finding a charger by mid-afternoon. If the next model gets an even bigger battery to match the rumored 8-inch display, that could be a game-changer. Then there's the camera setup. Foldables often compromise here, especially flip phones. Samsung, for example, has released 7 generations of flip devices without adding a telephoto lens. But Huawei decided to push further. The Pura X included a triple camera system with a 3.5x telephoto sensor. That's something you almost never see on a flip-style foldable. It gave users more flexibility for zoom shots, portraits, and just better all-around photography. So if Huawei carries the same philosophy into the larger Pura X, we might be looking at one of the most well-rounded foldables on the market. A device that doesn't just look futuristic, but also delivers where it matters: display, battery, and cameras. Of course, one big question remains. Will Huawei actually release it globally this time? The first Pura X had very limited availability. A lot of people outside of China couldn't even get their hands on it. And that's a shame, because it was one of the rare foldables that felt genuinely different. If Huawei wants to seriously compete with Samsung and Google, it needs to bring this new model to more markets. For now, there's no confirmed name. Some are calling it the Huawei Pura X2, but that's not official. What we do know is that leaks suggest a wider, more practical design, an 8-inch display, and likely the same philosophy that made the first model so impressive. If that's true, Huawei might have another winner on its hands. A foldable that not only grows in size but also continues to fix the pain points that have held back other flip phones. So, if you're someone who cares about media consumption, battery life, and camera flexibility in a foldable device, this next Huawei Pura should definitely be on your radar. By the end of 2025, we'll likely know more. Until then, the rumors are painting a very exciting picture of what could be Huawei's best foldable yet.